All right, now we're getting into some fun stuff. What we're going to do now is look at content-aware fill. So if you've ever used content-aware fill in Photoshop, it actually is very similar. The idea is that I can take an object that's in a composition in Photoshop, I lasso it, and then Photoshop analyzes the footage and is able to remove that object out of the picture. And it actually works in After Effects very similarly. So it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the nature of the footage. There's something very simple, something very isolated with the background very different from everything around it. It works really well. If you have something that's really complicated or lots of edges, geometric, then it doesn't work as well. And so it's worth experimenting with, because if it does work, it will save you hours of time. So we're going to look at something called content-aware fill. Let me show you how to set it up, how to run it, and it's one of those things that kind of borders on being magical in Photoshop, After Effects, and wherever else you might find it. So let's go into After Effects, and we're going to import some video footage. I'm going to go to File, Import File, and we're going to open this Adobe Stock 774-28224. It will be included in your sample files, so you'll access it and be able to follow along with the exercise as I described. I'm going to click Import, and then we're going to grab that footage and drag it down to the Composition button to create a composition. So if I play through this, you'll see that with the spacebar, press the spacebar, you see that it's this van moving through this footage here, and I think it would be a lot more majestic if the van was not in the footage. So what I'm going to do, instead of trying to do a content-aware of the whole thing, to speed up the exercises, I'm going to grab the work area and I'm going to make it smaller. I'll make it about 3 seconds. I'm only going to work on 3 seconds of the footage. Now, I want to create a mask. If I grab the pen tool and click outside of this selected layer, I would be creating a shape. I want it to be selected. I want to grab the pen tool, and then I want to trap the object, in this case the van, on the screen by clicking around it, and I want to click out far enough so that I grab the van shadow as well. So something like that is perfect for this particular part of the picture. What I've done here is I've created a mask. So if I toggle down, I go down the mask, you can see that I've gotten a mask. Now what I want to do right now is I want to choose none, so I can see the mask against the background. And I can reposition this, so whatever the case may be. So the first thing I want to do is I want to track this mask over the object, over the span of this van moving through the footage. So if I come over here, I right-click where it says mask, and I choose the command. I want to choose track mask. It's going to turn on my mask tracker. And sometimes you start in the middle and you track back, and you might start in the middle and track forward. In this case, we're starting at the beginning. We're going to track to the right. So I'm going to come over. I want to set the method to position, scale, and rotation. Sometimes you may need to experiment with some of these others. Most of the time, we're going to end up using that. And then I'm going to click the track selected mask forward button. I'm going to click that button, and it's going to crank through. And what it's going to do is it's going to track that object on the screen. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to stop at a certain frame. You may have to stop and then manually go in and modify the mask. If it starts to get too far off, you just stop. It's because it's adding a keyframe. Each ratchet, each crank of the video footage, each frame, it's adding a keyframe. And so I might need to stop and fine tune that. And you want to stop it as soon as it starts to get squirrely. You don't want to let it go too far, because then there's a lot more work with recorrecting and manipulating. And then I just turn it back on, and it's going to finish cranking through that footage. And so in this circumstance, we're only doing a very small portion so that you're not sitting here waiting for me to render files. And if you want to try rendering the whole clip, just be aware of the fact that the rendering time will increase the more footage you try to track matte, you try to render. So it's getting away a little bit here. I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to clean that up a little bit, just drag that in a little bit, and we drag that in a little bit, and then continue it on. And that's good. So we've already went past the area that I wanted to use for the track matte, right? So now what I want to do is I want to do content aware fill. So I'm going to select that layer. There's my content aware fill. If that's not there, you can click here and find it up here. And there's my content aware fill. I've got the layer selected, and I want to track the object, and I want to just track the work area. And I want to come down here to the mask, set it to subtract. Now I'm ready to render. So I click the generate fill layer. It's going to take the contents around that and swish it into that area. I click generate fill layer. I haven't saved the project yet, so I have to give it a name. All right, I've done this a few times, so I have to rename it. And now it's going to crank through, give it a little time, let it do its thing. So it's analyzing, 15, 25, 40. Now it's rendering 5 of 75, 15 of 75. It's actually moving quite quickly. 30 of 75. So that's why I only wanted to render a very small portion, so you wouldn't have to sit and wait while I was working. And so in this case, it's going to work adeptly. So there it is, it's finished. I'm going to play the footage. And as you can see, the van is nowhere to be seen. If I drag it to the other side, I haven't rendered this part, and you can see that the mask is still there. But over here, right, if we didn't see that, and we would have never known it was there. All right. So that's your content aware fill in After Effects.